A front to back wrist roll starts in a front grip, and we roll it, and then we roll it into a back grip. And vice versa, you're in a back grip, you roll it, and you're into a front grip. So you're going front to back, or back to front. Of course, the other two, which we'll get into later, is a back to back and a front to front, which is basically, let me just demonstrate. Here's a front to back, here's a back to front. The back to back can go infinitely, because you're just starting in a back grip and you're pulling it into a back grip, see? Back to back, and front to front, front to front. So the last two you can do infinitely, but they're a little bit more difficult, and also we want to get the back to fronts and the front to backs. Okay, because once we learn those, we'll be able to do figure eights, and we'll start adding back to fronts and front to backs, and what you'll end up with is a figure eight wrist roll. Alright, you want to learn that, right? Because, I mean, once you get that, everything opens up. So here's, there's two ways that people get into the back to front or the front to back wrist rolls. I'm going to show you the way that I usually get into them, and I use them it's called a rip, okay? A rip is basically one hand creates the momentum for the other hand. Like in nunchucks, usually one hand is just creating the momentum for itself, like so. A rip, this left hand, for instance, is going to rip the momentum into it. So you're using one hand to create the momentum for the spin. So the back of your fist, to do a rip, you want the back of your fist, one, to be pointed up towards the sky, or your ceiling, and the back of your fist of the other should be pointed down towards the floor, like this. So here's ceiling, floor. The one that's pointed towards the floor, we're just going to pull it up, like this. Okay, this is step one. You should see the chain go across the back of your fist, like that. Okay? Try it again. This one that's pointing towards the floor crosses the back of your fist. Okay. The moment it crosses the back of your fist, you're going to open your hand, and what's going to happen is the momentum pull is going to cause the opposite stick to actually roll in. So here's what it's going to look like in slow motion. I'm going to open my hand, and this stick is going to roll right into my hand, and I'm going to close it. From here, all I do is I twist my wrist 180 degrees, like this. Step one. Step two, open, let the other one fall in. Step three, open, let the other one fall in, and twist your wrist up. And the hand that just pulled it upwards is now going to clasp down. It's 4 steps, okay? 1, 2, 3, twist it, and then 4, this hand grabs down. Watch my left hand now. It just goes up and comes down. Goes up, comes down. The reason why it goes up and comes down is because you'll be able to practice both directions in this way. So, left fist pointing down, right fist pointing up towards the sky. We're going to do it again here. Here we go. Pull up, grab. You'll notice immediately now my left fist the back of my fist is pointing up to the sky and my right's pointing down. So we've completely reversed the grip. So now it's turn for the right hand to do the same, and you want to start off again by just pulling the chain. Make sure you can pull the chain right over the back of the fist. And back. Back of the fist and back. Step 2, we're going to back of the fist and grab it, like that. Okay? So we're going to do it again, back of the fist and grab it. This is probably the hardest part. I will say, like most people when they do the wrist roll, at first, they reach for it. Don't reach for it. Let the chuck spin in your hand. There should be practically no movement. If I'm holding the chuck like this, here's what it looks like. Oftentimes what I see though is this. They're reaching for the chuck. They think the chuck is actually going to end up somewhere else, but it's not, because the chain's wrapping across the back of your fist. It's actually, if we were to just hold it very still, you're going to see that this part will naturally fall on this part of the hand. What happens to a lot of beginners is they reach for it, they slide, they don't think that this part of the chuck is going to naturally fall into their hand. The moment it slides in their hand, they're going to have, what's going to happen is the chuck is either not going to like look straight like a stick, it may be like kind of awkwardly shaped, or it may just fly out of their hands. So don't reach for it, just open and close. Open, close. Just watch how straight this hand is. See how straight it is? It doesn't reach for it, otherwise chances are you're going to actually throw off what it's intending to do. Kind of a leap of faith. Have a leap of faith. Do it on both sides. Left, right. Left, right. These are called rips. Guess what? You can take your rips, and once you're done with the rip, you can go into your figure eights. So we'll do our figure eights. here, boom, we'll have to like bounce it sometimes, and then we can go to our rips, like so. And then we're going to roll back, do our figure eights, back to rips, back to rips, back to rips. Now, sometimes you can't, you'll grab it, like as you're doing a forward figure eight to your right, and if you grab it and both hands are facing up towards the sky, that's still perfectly alright. You can choose a hand and rip it up and you'll still have the same effect. Just make sure that your hand rotates over and grabs it again. To cover the other back to front and front to back, you don't use the other hand, you just spin it in a circle like this. I call this a circular spin. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to move your hand in the way of the chain. Once it's about 12 o'clock, you're going to move your hand in the way of the chain and it's going to do a wrist roll automatically. So look, like that. The only problem with this move that I find is it's kind of tricky to keep the momentum going. Like with the rips, it stops and you can redirect. In this one, you have to find a way to redirect, and we haven't quite gotten to the figure eight wrist roll yet. So what you can do is, once your hand goes up to 12 o'clock and you do the roll, see if you can just keep it spinning like that. And then try it with the other hand. Once it's about 12 o'clock, your hand opens, kind of moves slightly into the way, like this. Right now my hand's this way. Opens, grabs, and then we're going to spin it backwards. Once you're in back grip, you're going to have to reverse it, okay? Here's what I mean. If we're doing a front grip here, and we're going counterclockwise with right hand clockwise, we do the roll, we have to stop it for a second, and then we have to redirect it in order to go back. Like that. With rips, we didn't really have to do much because the hand grabs it and it automatically redirects it. But with these one-handed ones, which you may find easier, some people find rips easier, some people find this easier. It's totally up to you, whichever one works best for you. But essentially what you're going to want to do is be able to roll it through your wrist, both hands, both directions.